Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Hey, good evening.
All right, so welcome once again. This is Girlfriends on 103.1 FM, and we're so excited to be back with you. And once again, we're going to talk about the topic that we've been talking about for the last 2 weeks, and I think we might conclude today.
Yes.
Sure, hopefully.
Yeah. So, Auntie Shay, what have we been talking about?
Assertiveness, actually. And today we're going to talk about it from the point of view of peer, one-on-one with peers, with maybe someone that's older, but just generally within people of the same friends in general.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. Okay. Before we get into that, I want to give the number out. 0701-672-3656 is the number to send us a text if you're interested in contributing, telling us about your own experience where assertiveness is concerned. 0701-672-3656. Okay, so let me pick up from where she stopped. She said something about peer pressure.
Yeah.
So a scenario comes to mind. You and your friend. I think you are the one who started this last week. You believe in something, and then because you start doing things differently, and they don't know you to do those things. I think you used being a Christian as an example.
It happens. I see it everywhere. Actually, it has even happened to me. You're within a group of people, and you feel the pull of their influence, and you have a different opinion, but you don't want to be like the odd one out. So you just kill your opinion and then go with the flow. It happens a lot of times, but I've seen extreme cases. I think we should go into that later on, because right now we're just talking about not being able to speak out, just because of the influence of your peers and everything. But sometimes it can even get to the extreme, and it can have really, really terrible consequences.
Okay, let's give a scenario. For example, someone needs money from you, and then you probably have this principle that when your account balance moves below, you don't lend anybody, no matter what. You don't lend because you're thinking about your situation and you're planning wisely. And this person says, you know what, I really need this money, give me $150, I'll give it back to you desperately. And you also know
Good question.
no matter what it is, the principle of it is, and you also know that this person does not do well with money, always has money issues, but this person is saying it's a life and death situation, and you said, you know what, I understand where you're coming from and I really sympathize, but I'm sorry, I cannot give you this. And the person says, after you call yourself a Christian, very, very Christian of you not to help me at this time of need, and walks away. What do?
You don't give.
No, in fact, the truth about it is that it's funny because I had one. Well, not that the person is bad with money, but I really just didn't have that amount of money this week and all, and the person really needed it, and I felt I really should have helped, and I just decided, I'm just going to say no this time. And normally I would have gone ahead. My principle is I'll give you something that I probably don't expect back.
Thank you.
So if you asked for 200 G's or something, I'll give you 10 or I'll give you 20. Depends on how much loose cash I have at that time. But this time I didn't even have that amount of loose cash. I just said, you know what, just bone it. I don't have, and you can't kill me now.
Exactly.
You're asking for something, you can't kill me. And then when the person is particularly bad at financial management or something like that, then the person should know that any money I'm giving you is I'm saying goodbye to it now. So I think
and there's some people, especially people that you love or friends that you have this emotional ties and ties with. They just don't take no for an answer. It's easy for you to say no and no, and why? Please now, no, please now. Like, how do you get out of that mess? Like, you're saying no, and this person is please now.
Please.
You know why that happens? Because you've given in so many times before, so it's almost like strange to them to hear you say no when if you at all can even say no. So I feel you just have to stick to your guns, and and make them know that this is a whole new assertive you, because the amount of pressure they're putting on you is because of the reaction that they feel they would get, which they've been getting previously.
How
about a husband?
Okay, that's taking it to a whole new level. I think you should give us some more insight into that.
It's being assertive, especially as women, it's being assertive the same as being a feminist.
No, at all.
Seriously?
Many people will tell you that because you put your foot on the ground, whatever,
you're being
yes.
Yeah, well, maybe because they're saying you're being independent and all that, but you're a woman. Is the person your husband or is the person your father? And the person is telling you you're being a feminist. If that's their own opinion, they can. They're entitled to their opinion. So hey, after all, if
especially in a traditional society like Nigeria, where everybody expects that a woman should be submissive, and then when you have an opinion, and then you have an opinion,
I think we even need to define that scope of being submissive.
Yeah.
It's to your husband. So this idea of every man thinking that every woman is beneath him is so wrong, and it's definitely not biblically correct.
I think everybody has a right to say no. Everybody has a right to air their own opinion. Everybody has a right to say, you know what, I'm responsible for my actions and that of my children, but not for you. Do you understand? And I think so many people forget to realize that we came in as individuals and we don't owe anybody anything. I was thinking, I think I was talking to Shay and Anu earlier on today about a scenario where two friends start up in a job together, very close. One becomes the boss.
I have a classic example of that.
Like, how do you now look at the friend that you guys went to school together, came out together, and then suddenly somebody makes you head over this other person, and you have to now start telling this person what to do?
Oh goodness, it's a long story. I had I'm still going through this, and actually what happened was the person who was the overall boss, had a very close friend that has immediate subordinate, and because of this the friendship thing entered the workplace, and then she wasn't assertive, but it got to a point that she saw that things were getting bad. The people that were answering to her friend were all complaining. She turned the deaf ear until people started leaving the company. So she said, okay, I need to take up my responsibilities as a leader, and then when she put her foot down, it became World War Z, because her friend could not believe that, you're my friend. Why would you tell me not to do this? Why would you, and they're still trying to resolve this issue, but it just really drove something home to me that, look, you have to be assertive, you have to be responsible to wherever you are, to yourself, at whatever point, regardless of, you're not taking anyone away from this world when you leave this world. So
that one is the workplace. What about a place where, let's say, church, and you're in a department together, and then somebody that's your friend becomes like the HOD, and then they start giving orders. That one is the workplace. What happens there? But basically is that you actually have to let everybody know that I'm not trying to lord it over you, but certain things have to be done and all that. And then generally people have to know that, hey, this person, we're no longer on the same level when it comes to this. Let's just have an understanding. I came here to do something, let's just get it done and all that. But the basic thing is, both the person that became the HOD and then the person that is now under the person, they have to understand that we came here to perform a certain function, and this is what has happened. And if you still know that this is the aim of why you are there, then I believe it can work. But basically is you mustn't take your eyes off the ball. I know that no matter what, and but you have to be fair and firm and kind and considerate when you're doing it. But at the same time, you actually have to be firm.
I think it's all about drawing lines, knowing that, okay, this is the office, this is a different ball game. When we leave the office, when we go home, we can be buddies, we can be friends and everything. But here, let's just take on a different personalized.
And I think the way you come across to people also, you can be assertive but also be empathetic with it. You can be assertive and be polite. You don't have to be sorry for telling someone to do something or dodging it over somebody if you have to. But at the same time, the way you relate to that person, like, I understand where you're coming from. I understand where you are right now. So you can, because there's a difference between being assertive and aggressive. And then just making the person even more mad. Okay, so I also brought up this earlier on, and I was, for Angus's benefit, many of us are Christians, and out there, the Bible is our guideline as Christians. And then Jesus said, if someone slaps you, turn the other cheek. If they take your clothes, give them another one. And then if they drag you down the mile, follow them too. And that is the reason why many Christians fail to be assertive, because they are thinking, okay, fine, let me just swallow this. After all, the Bible has said, turn the deaf, turn the other cheek and blah blah blah, and so sometimes you'll see someone do something, but you can't tell them to stop because you're thinking, okay, I'm not suffering with Jesus if I speak. I'm being selfish. I'm gonna suffer with Jesus, and so
I think thinking about it, I'm really pondering on that scripture now and wondering what it actually means. But I think that it definitely does not give us the opportunity to in any way not be assertive or not stand our ground. Because
if you turn the other cheek, you're not standing your ground.
You're not standing your ground. No, the truth. Okay, well, I was actually going to juxtapose it with where the scripture also tells us that we should be as sheep.
Gentle as sheep.
I think that it calls for wisdom. I think it's just coming at it with wisdom. So, for instance, if your husband in marriage, for instance, your husband is really not being nice to you, and or he's definitely not being nice to you or something, and you can actually just fight back at that time, and maybe he used harsh words at you, and maybe it's in the presence of your child or something. You can stand and take more harsh words, or really or even just lash out and say harsher words back and all. But I think it's that ability to understand that sometimes you need to take the heat. It doesn't mean that you're not being assertive, but it's just that as a meek person, there are times when you can't afford to meet out the same measure. If someone slaps you, is it right for them to have slapped you? No. So I think it's just deciding that I think it's even a part of being assertive as well. Realizing that you cannot meet out the same measure to somebody else because it's a bad thing in the first place. You can't afford to. So if somebody dupes you or something, you don't look for an opportunity to dupe the person back or something. It's just understanding that it has happened, and then being assertive to know that you can't condescend to this level. I think that's what it means.
I've learned from this situation, never going back there. I won't be duped again.
I think it's even part of being assertive. That someone does something bad to you, it's not your nature to do bad. Okay, so if you do bad because of what the person did, you're actually not being assertive. You're not being yourself.
Yes.
True.
So you can look at it.
She used the word. She used meek, and then the thing that came into my mind was they said that Moses was the meekest. It was said he was the meekest, but hey, he was the meekest, but he kept on going back to Pharaoh. God said, "Let my people go." One thing happened, he went back, let my people go. The second thing happened, let my people go. Eventually Pharaoh let the people go, but he was being assertive, but he was still the meekest of all men, right? So and then when people say meek, you actually have the idea that the person is weak, but he's not.
I think it was also Moses who married somebody that he's Aaron and he also felt, and he didn't say let him do it. He still said, man, I'm going to marry this man, and he continued until God
fought his battle for him.
So I think if you even stand your ground, God will help you to say. And funny enough, I think God had even said that they should not marry from that tribe, but somehow God still stood by. He still stood by him.
So like you said, you're not being assertive if you let somebody change you because of anything and all that.
A reaction based on what they have done. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll just come and conclude this topic. Okay? We'll be back. Alright, so we have come to the end of yet another episode, but before we go, we can let's talk about the things that we can do and the things that we can do and we should not do, when you have a confrontation with somebody. And one thing I've always learned is that if one party brings God inside that situation, just one of them, He will always find a way to help them resolve their conflict. So what should you not do instead of being assertive?
Well, what you should not do is obviously make your feelings not known just for the sake of resolving the conflict, because that's all at the surface, and at the end of the day you're going to carry bitter feelings and it's going to be a vicious cycle.
Okay, I'm going to say, what should you not do instead of being assertive?
I think what you should not do is where we just left off, really, is letting people change you, letting people change the way you see life. So the next person is going to get the battering really because of what someone else did, and that's because you could not stand up to that person. So anybody after you, any subordinates after you also gets the heat for what you've taken. I think it's understanding that the buck should stop at you. If something bad is coming to you, explain to the next person, let the person understand how you feel, and don't transfer it to somebody else. Don't let the person change you.
Okay, Shay,
What should not do? Well, I agree with Mazini that you shouldn't hold a grudge, you shouldn't take it on, you shouldn't transfer it, you shouldn't pay it forward in a bad way and all that. I think that's really, really important, no matter what. Really, really, really important.
And I also think that like what Anu had said, instead of putting in, some people will not go passive aggressive. What some people will do is go around, start gossiping and talking about the other person in such bad light, and that's a way of transferring the anger instead of dealing with the situation. If you cannot be assertive, then just don't talk. It's better for you not to talk than going around and condemning people and they don't even know what the problem is, but because you're being too much of a coward, you can't speak up, then you go and backbite. So we have to go. Next week we'll come up with a very interesting topic. I'm sure Shay, Anu, and Ngozi will figure out what we're going to talk about.
And you conveniently removed yourself from the equation.
Oh yes,
that's not going to work.
All right, guys. Good night.
Bye.
Have a lovely
Till next
week.
week.